Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
Whew, it's not about the bricks. It's kind of like it's not about the I guess it's all about the Benjamins, isn't it? That's how that goes. It's all about the Benjamins. It's not about the bricks. It's not about the bricks. So once again, inspired by Rob Bell on, seriously, this one podcast I listened to, one episode of his podcast, which by the way is called the Robcast. And probably in like a 4-minute time span, I was like, oh, 3 things that he said that just 3 lines that I was like, I'm going to speak into that because that is brilliant. So he tells the story, one of the biblical stories about, okay, I'm so bad with this stuff, sister. I do not know the Bible. I know little things. Jesus Christ was on the cross. He rises at Easter. He's resurrected. I know Adam and Eve and Noah's Ark. And that's about it. So I'm going to completely screw this up. But whoever it was who made the Egyptians their slaves to build. And there was some kind of story about, talking about Sabbath, right? And that God created a universe or source, whatever kind of works for you, higher power, said, look, there's one day a week where you have to rest. There has to be a Sabbath, right? There has to be a time for you to refuel. And how the Egyptians, and basically then too, that it's not all about production, right? That this is the one day out of the week that you get to be a human being, not a human doing, right? You've all heard that kind of phrase before, right? We're human beings, not human doings. There has to be a dude with a really loud motorcycle right next to my car. Okay, here we go, continue. So the Egyptians that were their slaves, now, their merit, their worth, their value, and they did not value them clearly as human beings because they were their slaves. Made them their slaves. I'm out of breath coming back from boxing right now. Is that their merit was based on their bricklaying. How many bricks can they actually lay, right? And that there was no value in them as human beings in this story. And so their merit was all based on how many bricks can they actually lay. You're our slaves. We don't think you even deserve a break. So screw you, you just have to work 7 days a week. You're our slaves. That's kind of the way that it's going to work, right? And that, again, that God, source, universe, divine, higher power, Buddha, Allah, whatever you say is source for you. You know what I'm going to do? Maybe I should do this. Maybe every single time that I talk about God, source, higher power, but I'll just say something else in there. I'll just choose a different one. I don't know. So I feel like this is going to get really long each time. And the reason that I do is because I know for me, if someone started to have the God conversation, I would completely just tune out. And I would be turned off by it. I'm like, here we go. Bible thumpers, going to hell, I'm a sinner, I'm born. Like none of that part really ever resonated with me. And so I turned it out. So I will kind of interchange the terms, but just know it all means the same thing. It's just different ways that we refer to it or that work for us or don't work for us. See, to me, I always used to say the universe. But I still didn't really believe in higher power so much. I really believed in just that there's like some kind of an order happening. I just don't think it's the guy in the big book, right? Back to the story. So that, that it's not, that your value is not based on bricks. And so Rob Bell said this, saying it's not about the bricks. And we can interchange and say, hey, you know what? It's not about money. And I have to be careful when I say that. Because you know what? Money matters. Money allows you to do things and have experiences. You cannot do as much when you are broke. That is just the bottom line. People go, but how about Gandhi? How about Mother Teresa? How about, thinking that somehow if you were a spiritual person, then that means that you must be broke. That poor equals spiritual. And that is absolute horseshit. Why don't we take a look at Deepak Chopra's net worth, shall we? Let's say, how about Oprah Winfrey? How about Marianne Williamson? How about someone like Brene Brown? We could go on and have this conversation. How about Wayne Dyer when he was still alive? How about Louise Hay, who is still alive? Is she still alive? Or did she pass? I can't remember now. Oh my gosh. But we could go on and on of, different spiritual teachers, modern day, right? Or maybe, not too far in, that they've passed away. They're not broke. They're not broke. So this is not to say that money doesn't matter, because money does matter. But it cannot be the primary motor for what you do in your life. That's good. I actually meant to say motivation, but it came out mortar. Brick and mortar. It came out motor. Because think of it, it's like the thing that runs it, right? If you think that money is the, is the driver in all of this, and that you somehow, listen, there's nothing wrong with being motivated by money, right? If you say, like, I want to set these goals, or this means once I get to here, I'm going to set a goal, outcome I have, and then once I hit that, then I'm going to buy this, I'm going to save money, whatever. You can use it, I think, in a way where it is not as the primary thing. But I'll tell you right now, I've known people in my life, people that are very close to me, that thought that because money is a metric, it is, let's just be honest, it is, right? If you say you have a business and there's no money coming in, that's not a business, that's a hobby. It just is. A business makes money. It has a profit. If it's at a loss, it's a broken business. If anything, let's just maybe call it that. It's a broken business, or it's not one that's really a business yet. Maybe it's a movement, maybe it's a message, but if people aren't exchanging dollars for what you do, it's not truly a business. It's a movement, maybe. It's not a business though yet. But money is a metric, right? It is a way for you to see. You might think you've written the best book in the world, but if nobody's buying it, then the market has spoken to you. It's not, people don't feel compelled to exchange their dollars, and it's not because people don't have money. People spend all sorts of money on alcohol and cigarettes and lottery tickets and, stupid magazines and junk food and worthless shit that they see the value in that. So you can't go, well, it's the economy and it's depressed and blah, 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 blah. None of that stuff. But if people are not exchanging dollars for what you're doing, then, you have something to take a look at, right? But if you make it where it is the only thing, then I'll be really raw and real with you right now. When I first started this movement, Women Who Want to More, so almost a year ago, August of 2015 is when I launched the podcast, which just rolled over recently, over 2 million downloads. So thank you for listening to the podcast. I love and appreciate you. And I mean those, when I say those words at the end of each episode, I fucking mean them. But, I have, in my quest to really reach more of you, right? Because again, to have you say, I listen to the podcast, it's so great, yay, it's amazing. But then I go, well, then what? I'm not responsible for your results. I'm not here to save you, sister. You need to save yourself. It doesn't work that way. And those of you that have put me, I've had the women do this already though too, that think I'm their savior. And guess what people do to saviors? We're talking about the Bible before, right? They fucking crucify you. That's what they do. I've had women love me and then vilify me on social media like it's crazy. It's crazy because they've deemed me as their savior. And then maybe there was something that I said, it triggered them in false move, or I don't know, who knows, right? It's not even relevant to put that energy into it. But, I know that those that have come to my live events, right, that have invested in themselves, time, energy, money for coaching at any level, anywhere from the sisterhood, which is a minimal $47 a month, all the way up to live events, to several $1,000s one-on-one coaching, to those that have invested in my online programs, have invested something that are actually getting results. And there's this interesting thing that when you often invest more money, you get more results. It's just kind of the way it works, right? How I now train, now I was training before boxing to compete, but that after 3 terms, I've talked about in past episodes, I won't go on about it, but now I'm just training to train. But however, my technique is good. Even with swimming right now, I've hired a coach. So I've invested more with my coach, Rob Boxing, to train one-on-one. And I was doing group classes when I was training for different tournaments. But, the technique, I understood it, but I didn't really see it until I experienced it. And when I would go to group classes, and I would, you're in a group class. There's anywhere from 6 to 12 to, 14 people in a group class. And you're working with a partner at some point, and you're doing different drills. And I'd be like, man, their technique is all over. And I was like, oh, got it, because I've worked one-on-one. right? I've invested the dollars and I've gotten the results faster because of the level of coaching that I'm getting. One-on-one versus a group, right? It just makes sense. You're going to get better if you have the attention of one person versus one person needing to give the attention to 14 people in the class. Same with my swimming. I've said this to I've had a couple different teachers because, they're all like a lot of like young people, and they either like finish school or university or for, the year, and then they're back home to wherever they live, or they're now teaching summer camps and they're not in the group. So I've had like I think I've had four different teachers. And I remember I've often commented, because I go early morning when we don't have lesson to swim at the pool and to do laps. And it is when the seniors come to swim. I live in a community that's actually a lot of seniors, a lot of Victoria's seniors, because of the beautiful weather year round, among many things. Proximity to, we're on an island, so we have ocean and we have mountains, and it's just a beautiful city to live. I think one of the best cities in the world. And so I'll comment saying, because I'll watch some of these, some of them are, they're just slow when they're in the water, and it's cool. They're having a good time. It's beautiful. They're in the pool most mornings, like good for them, right? They're about to bed early. The open swim starts at 6 a.m. and they're like lined up to get in at 6 a.m. time. And I've said that, and some of them they're really good swimmers. Like, I'm like, man, they're just like relaxed. And I've said that, I'm like, man, I'm just getting smoked by these old folks. And they go, well, number one, they've been swimming for a long time, a lot of them. I get that, of course, practice. I've just started swimming at any kind of, any sort of seriousness over the last 6 months, about 6 months or so. And they go, number two, your technique, like, there's no way that they're swimming better than you, right? Because I've had one-on-one coaching, 40, 30, 45-minute lessons where we're just breaking down all the components of front crawl, right? Like really dialing down technique and tweaking. And so why am I sharing this with you right now? Ooh, there's like a point to this, going off on a tangent. Business, talking about money, right? Okay. So although we were talking about that it's not about the bricks, just know that money does matter. Money is important. But it cannot be the thing that gets you going, because as I was starting to say, God, I went off on a big-ass tangent there. Whew! This is what happens after training, or after I've like moved my body in some way. My mind's just so opened up from movement. I think I'm just like, I'm rambling, man, but hopefully there'll be some sense of this tip for you. But people that I've known, again, that have been close to me, that it's been like they have made money the metric, it becomes really empty really fast. Really empty really fast. Yeah. And for me, what I was starting to share, this was the whole point of it, the raw and real portion of it, is that when I first started, it was all about like mission. It was all about like, how can I connect with you? How can I teach you? And in trying to reach more women, it's shifted to like, okay, what are the dollars coming in, man? Because I know that the dollars coming in is relevant. It does matter as far as women are consuming the podcast, beautiful. But are they actually doing something with it, right? It's one thing to inspire someone to like do something. It's another step to inspire someone to say, you know what, I'm gonna invest in myself. And so that's the piece for me that has been the challenge. I just take a look and I'm like, I even had like business coaches go like, you have how many people that listen to your podcast every single day? 3,000 to 5,000? Well, why isn't your business at a bigger point that like, I don't understand, right? And so it's been a lot of really going into the analytical point where it didn't become about the money, but my focus really shifted to looking at that. Still very much honed into why I do this. So don't hear me wrong with this, sister. This is still like, listen, there's things that I could do that make a lot more money than this. And I'm not doing it for that purpose, but it is the natural outcome that's going to happen as a result of this. If I'm doing this, my thoughts, right? If I'm really reaching you, there will be more of you. I know not all of you will ever invest in yourself, and that's okay. And you'll listen to the podcast solely, and you'll love it, and you'll get great value from it, and that's okay. But I know there's so many more of you that I'm like, what is the missing piece, right? And here's something interesting then. It's like, and more women who listen to the podcast, as there was like more women kind of come to sisterhood and free groups and stuff like that, and yet I kept seeing like women not really stepping up and investing in themselves. And I would, run different free groups and make more programs and go, okay, let me listen, and it's this, and open up a Shopify store, which is still there, by the way. You're welcome to grab some amazing t-shirt or tank or mug and hoodie. And that's at, what is that one? drkarenosborne.com/shop. That's it. Had to think what that was for a second. drkarenosborne.com/ oh no, pardon me. womenwantingmore.com/shop. Just message me if I screw that one up. But yeah, just like, I'm going to figure this out. And it became such a focus on the metrics that what happened is I found like I've lost some of this along the way. This is the raw and the real part for you, sister. This is a lot of the precipitation of the kind of feeling like I'm falling apart stuff that started happening, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months ago. It's been like a slow fall. You ever have, like, if you have kids, they're like little learning to walk and they fall, like just when they're really little, right? When they're like, I don't know, a year to maybe 18 months. And they learn to walk, and they're just, unless they're on the stairs, in which case it's a problem. They're like rolling down those stairs like nobody's business, right? But like they do this slow fall. I just remember with my wife, they'd have like a slow fall. That's what it's been felt like, this kind of this breakdown process of just like, it's a slow fall. And when I reflect and I look back, I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of components to it. But one of the components is this, and it just came down to, I was like, do I want to keep doing this? Because I'm just so tired. And I don't know if I'm really reaching women. And I love that you're all listening. I appreciate and I honor that you're listening to this podcast, sister. But it's more important to me that, the numbers of women listening to the podcast isn't as important as the number of women that are actually implementing what I'm speaking about, or making shifts in their life and investing in themselves and doing the actual work and seeing a result with this. That's what matters to me the most. And so that had been my purpose of like, well, let me figure this stuff out, right? And so there's been a shift in that. And in that process, it's me finding my way back. And do I want to continue? And I believe that I do. But I think that I need a break to really like take a look at all of this stuff, right? And so there needs to be more than the Sabbath, more than the one day of rest, because it really has been a relentlessness over the last 6 years, It really, really, really has been. And so when it starts to be that focus is for that, I would see that the downloads of the podcast, of the listens, as they're coming up, it would just be like, oh, looks like we're going to hit 2 million downloads. Okay. And it didn't have a feeling to it anymore, right? Even a lot of my coaching, and this is no disrespect to my clients whatsoever that I've coached, but I could feel it in me. It wasn't that I didn't care, I absolutely did. It was just like it was just, the word that keeps coming to me is just like, I was just tired. Like I felt like it was just the same things I'm hearing from women. It's just like, just hit play and here's the objections, here's the challenges, here's what they're going to say at this point, here's what's going to come up. It became a real push. And I've lost a piece of that. So, as you know, clearly the podcast has still continued throughout this process. And I'm going to continue to be real and raw and really document all of it. And I know that I shouldn't say that, I don't know for sure. I believe I will find my way back and get to a deeper piece of this. I know there's experience for me to see all this, but I need you to know that it's not about the bricks. It can't be about the bricks. It just can't. And whether those bricks for you are money, whether it's some kind of way that you measure production, like how many things you get down on your to-do list, how many things you can juggle at the same time, it just can't be about the bricks. So here's your more tip for today, sister. I just want you just to like think about this. Like, where are you focusing on the bricks when you really need to be focusing on something else, like a bigger picture, a deeper why? Where are you doing that? And here's the second thing to ask yourself is, what is it costing you to only focus on production? Whether that for you is money or billable hours or clients that you have, or, a raise that you get if you work for somebody, like things you get done in your day. Like, what is it costing you to only focus on the production, the doing part, and not the being? Focusing on the bricks and not your soul and the essence of who you are. And that's the beautiful thing in all this, is that I know with all of this has brought me to exactly where I need to be right now. It sucks. It's not easy. But I trust and surrender to this process right now. And to me, there's really no other choice. It's either resist and persist and get mad about it, or just be like, all right, I surrender. Source, God, Buddha, Allah, Divine, Holy Spirit, Jesus, universe. I get it. I'm supposed to see something. And so what are you supposed to see for you, where you're focused on the bricks? And what is it costing you? It's important that we really take a look at that. Because I can see for me, what it was costing me was my creativity. What was it costing me is my sense of fulfillment. What it was costing me is my state of mind. What it was costing me was love inside of me that was becoming dulled by frustration and anger and resentment. And what the fuck? Felt like I was banging my head against the wall. There's a lot of ways that it cost me. And listen, there's a way to look back and be able to just reflect on that versus this is where it cost me, so that you need to feel that, right? Feel that. Not guilt yourself. Don't blame yourself. Don't be hanging your head in shame. It's none of that stuff. It's simply wow, this is really how it cost me. Okay, cool. So now my decision is going to be this, and my choice. Where am I going to move from here? So you either just simply reflect on that, or I would even encourage you more just to journal this to really see what you see from this, sister. And I'm going to really hope and encourage that you take this to heart and don't just hear this, but hear what you need to hear for you in this and actually do something from this process. There will be a method to the rambling of this now 21-minute podcast here right now. But let's finish this up, shall we? So, to be able to do this type of work, not in isolation, then you need to be in the sisterhood. That's it. Head over to drkarenosborn.com/sisterhood, where there are women just like you that are doing this type of work. We are not alone in this world, and there's no reason for you to isolate yourself and think that you're the only one like this, because you are not. I will tell you that right now, sister. So that's number one. Number two, to make sure to subscribe to the newsletter, so that you're involved in Wanting More Tribe and you get all the updates. My book that I'm working on right now, which will be coming out when it comes out, I don't know yet. But head over to drkarenosborn.com/action guide. I'm going to send you some amazing things as well. And number three, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star review on iTunes, so we can help connect with more women who are like you, that are like me, that need to hear this message, and we'll read your review and something will connect, and you could be that pivotal piece to help that woman connect back and remember who that she is, just like you're remembering who you are, and is my purpose here on the podcast. So I will talk the next episode, sister. A life of more. It's just one step away from you doing the work and bringing love into your heart every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborn.com/newsletter.